Can we have a drum roll, please? Somebody. There we go. Bringing in tonight, all the way from Eugene, we have Temple the Bar. Bring it up.
Hey everybody, I'm Temple the Bard. I'm here from Eugene. I drove over those glorious mountains through the clouds of smoke to get here. So grateful to be here. I am non-binary. My pronouns are they, them, but more realistically than being non-binary, I identify as a manic pixie dream cryptid. Now let me tell you what, a manic pixie dream cryptid is based off of the manic pixie dream girl archetype as exemplified by Zooey Deschanel in some of her movies of the late aughts and early teens. And basically a manic pixie dream girl comes into a guy's life with perfectly cut bangs and her skirt is always on point and her makeup never musses. Her tights are color coordinated with her shoes. She does emotional labor for this guy that he doesn't deserve her doing for him because he should frankly see a therapist in the first place. And then finally at the end of the movie, like his life is all great because she's done all of this work for him and happily ever after, you know. But me as a manic pixie dream cryptid, I tend to come into a guy's life looking like this, with a 30-pack of Busch Light in my hand. And then we drink most of the 30-pack of Busch Light, and by then he's drunk enough to be willing to do butt stuff with me. Yeah. So one of the cool things about being non-binary is I can use whatever bathroom I want to, and this is really great. And one of the things I gotta say is, like, when I go into a men's bathroom and I use the urinal in the men's bathroom, it's like really drab and there's like nothing to look at, maybe an advertisement or something, and there's just like one little flush handle. But when I go into the women's bathroom to use the urinals, like there's hot and cold running water, there's a mirror in front of it. Like, they're really nice. Like, I don't know why you boys put up with those shitty urinals. You need to demand the good ones like there are in the women's bathrooms. Oh, hell. So I'm bisexual, and, getting laid as a bisexual isn't always the easiest thing in the world. There's bisexual erasure in the queer community. They'll pick a side and go with it, but us bisexuals figure out where to get laid, and we figure it out in nearly any town we're in, and it's basically at the local antique mall. That's where we find each other, and that's where people who are into bisexuals find us. And I used to go to the bowling alley to get laid, but unfortunately, I got 86th for 69ing the 10th frame. Ma'am, sir, ma'am, I don't know what you are, but you're not supposed to stick your tongue in the bowling balls. And I don't know if that's a fold or what, but you're not supposed to stick that bowling ball up there either. Like, excuse me, that's my extended belly button, thank you very much. They also really frowned upon my habit of refusing to rent bowling shoes and instead putting Kleenex boxes on my feet, Howard Hughes style. They weren't into that. So now I go to the antique mall, and it's really easy. Like, I know what people want, I know what I want, and so I was at the antique mall the other day, giving side-eye to a couple of barber chair Bettys, trying to convey my impeccable taste in reproduction mid-century gas station advertisement signs. And all of a sudden walks in this silver daddy with like a 10-year growth of beard, like wearing all of his clothes straight out of the Nasty Pig catalog. I wanted to wear him as my wristwatch so bad. But I kind of got the feeling he wasn't into fats or femmes, and I saw a hanky in his back pocket, and those of you out there may know a little bit about queer history. Back in the day, before the internet, queers would put handkerchiefs in our back pockets to say, hey, what we're into and who we want to do it with. And so he had a hanky in his back pocket, and these days you could just Google what the hankies mean. So I Googled what that hanky placement and what pocket meant, and it meant one of two things. It meant either A, he identifies as a top or daddy, which is, okay, sure, or it means he owns a McDonald's franchise. Frankly, I was hoping for both. I was just wanting some welcome to McDaddy's, may I help you? But as I suspected, he wasn't into femmes or fatties, so it was more like, thank you, drive through. But that's okay, you know, like there's a dating site for people like me too. Like I don't find a lot of people on like Tinder or Grindr, but I'm certainly on Plunger.
Is that a real thing?
Plunger's great. It's like a dating website where people post pictures of their buttholes instead of their faces. Yeah. And over COVID, when everybody was wearing masks anyway, like who needed to see the faces? You weren't going to see the faces. I needed to know what your starfishes looked like. Yeah. That's how I stayed, you know, I stayed a little more hungry rather than thirsty over COVID, if you know what I mean. As far as I'm concerned, with all the ass-eating hookups that go on there, they should call it menu, not plunger. Okay. So you all seem like a pretty queer-friendly crowd, good allies and community members. This is great. I feel safe. I got to do a little something here. Hold on a second.
You go, Dave.
Queer world order. Mm-hmm. Yeah, queer world order. Got to rep the agenda.
There you go.
Literally, it's a wrestling T-shirt from a stable named the Queer Agenda. I bought this from a drag queen named Pollo Del Mar, and I really love wrestling. I'm not going to get too deep into wrestling comedy. That's another show. But yeah. See, I was wearing that as like, if all my queer jokes bombed, it's like, all right, I'm gonna walk it back. I don't have to walk anything back right now. This is great.
You're good.
Thanks. So I guess I'm gonna teach you all a little bit about our community, those of you who haven't had a thorough LGBTQ 101. And basically, one of the things I want to talk about is coming out of the closet. Everybody thinks it's like a big deal for a queer person to come out of the closet. But let me tell you what, like that's not how we find out and represent that we're queer. Like we find out we're queer in a completely different way. And it's one of three ways we find out. Either one, we get touched by an angel. Two, we get diagnosed by a drag queen. Or three, we accidentally get a copy of Teen Vogue in the mail. Mm-hmm. Then once you find out you're queer, you basically go to the Orientation Olympics where you find out if you're gonna be somebody who fucks, or if you're going to be one of those asexual spec people who hoist all the purple flags and rainbows and pride and etc. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many asexual flags. That's a deep joke there. But anyway, you get into the Orientation Olympics, and there's a lot of really cool events. Like for example, there's the 100-meter quickie. Mm-hmm. There's synchronized lactation, and of course there's the pole vault. And of course that's pegging. I mean, who are we kidding? Of course that's pegging. And so anyway, if you're really good and you keep your lawn mowed and your eyebrows trimmed, you get entered into a drawing to win a silver daddy. And a silver daddy is basically like a 60 or 70-year-old gay man who comes over to your house, brings you weird art that he picked up at the flea market, and gives you advice that doesn't apply in this day and age. So treat him well. He will write you into his will. If you take him to his medical appointments, at least. So, yeah, and so finally at the end of that, you find out you're queer, and then you get entered into the mandatory polyamory expansion draft. Now, a lot of you don't quite know what polyamory is, so I'm going to tell you what. Polyamory was the guy in colonial era who used to give Paul Revere his midnight ride every night. Mm-hmm. Just as he bust a nut, he goes, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" Mm-hmm. No, polyamory is like when you love like more than one person, and the polyamory expansion draft is like the modern way of like queers, getting exposed to different types of relationships. Like when I came out recently, looking to get into a relationship again, starting to date again, I got re-entered into the polyamory expansion draft, and I got assigned to a chiropractor in Coburg named Steve, and a veterinarian in Veneta, also named Steve. And you all don't know where these towns are, but they're far away from each other. And let me tell you what, even though I've been entered into this draft, I do not know how the government expects me to pay for the gas to get back and forth between Steves and Steves. It's not like my car runs off of mediocre blowjobs and reluctant emotional labor, So basically, that's what it's like to be queer in this day and age. So, that's why the kids are into it. It's modern rebellion, it's fun, It's a lot better than getting married, having kids at 20 and working at the factory, I tell you that. So don't be too harsh on your kids for rebelling. So one of the things I gotta say is I love Oregon. Like, I've lived here for a couple of years now. It's a beautiful state to drive around in. But one of the things I notice is that a lot of the cities and towns in Oregon's names sound like they're the names of prescription drugs. Like, for example, does your dog have an odd number of nipples? Ask your doctor about Tualatin today. Men, is your male pattern baldness not progressing fast enough? Does your wife watch Bill Burr's Netflix special and masturbate while she makes you sleep on the couch due to your horseshoe hairline? Well, step on up to Shed, the only drug guaranteed to exacerbate the speed of male pattern baldness. Men, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction? Ladies, are you suffering from that not so fresh feeling? Well, step on up to the Pine, the only drug guaranteed to solve below the belt issues in both men and women. Ask your doctor today.
The pine solves nothing.
The pine solves nothing. See, prescription drugs maybe don't solve anything either, but I don't want to have that argument today. Somebody out here might be alive because of Prozac. You know, I'm not really trying to be that kind of a downer today. But you know what I've noticed is the towns that don't sound like the names of prescription drugs kind of sound like the names of the diseases that those prescription drugs would be prescribed to stop. Like, for example, are you suffering from a case of the Dales? Well, ask your doctor about once-a-day Corvallis. It cures not only the Dales, but also Monmouth, Philomath, and what the hell's the town up north here? I forgot the fucking name of it. Comedy fail. Damn it! Redmond or something like that. See, isn't Redmond like the perfect rash that just won't go away? Like, you get the spray that John Madden did the advertisements for before he died, and you spray it all over, and it still just doesn't go away.
It's actually Madras, but Redmond will work.
But I get invited to some weird shit here. Like, I had a friend who invited me to go baby tasting with her the other day.
What?
Like, baby tasting. I'm like, what is this shit? That doesn't sound good. She's like, no, get your head out of the gutter. It's totally wholesome. It's like wine tasting except with babies.
No.
I'm like, no, this is bad. She's like, no, it's fine. Like, everybody gets together at the park, and they bring their babies in their strollers, and the judges lick the foreheads of the babies, and then fill out a judging card based on, like, saltiness, consistency, and tongue feel. And then the best tasting baby wins a $500 free play credit to the casino in Florence. Like, this is whack. No, she's like, it's great, you have to come. There's like a hot dog eating contest for former child stars. Danny Buonaducci's won it 3 years in a row. Like, you've got to see him cram those frankfurters into his mouth. And then stick around afterwards for the electric glory holes. No, no, I know better than that. She's like, get your head out of the gutter. It's the Electric Glory Holes, Eugene's second most popular Grateful Dead cover band. Okay, all right, maybe this isn't so bad. But, you know, I love being invited to really weird things. You know, it's really glorious. I love just, like, living my life. I love being in Eugene. But one of the things that bugs me about Eugene is they're so health conscious and so fat shamey. It's like there are certain circles I like walk to or around, or certain places I go, and just people look at me funny. And I'm used to people looking at me funny because I'm queer or trans, but not just because I don't eat like organic kale for lunch. And it extends into the civic architecture as well. The other day I pressed the button to cross 6th Avenue and the sign started barking back at me. Wait. I'm like, damn, leave me alone with a fat shaming. And my friend's like, no, that's not what he's saying. I'm like, all right, fine, I'm overly sensitive. So I sit there and I calm down, and finally the light turns green and it says, walk sign is on across 6th Avenue, fatty. So I had to combat this. I went down to the healthy grocery store, I bought me some kale, I bought me this like organic nut spread, all of the hippies eat, and put it in my fridge, and then my friends came over, they're like, oh hey Tumble, we noticed you have all this healthy food in your fridge. Looks like Eugene's rubbing off on you. And I'm like, these are just props. I'm not gonna eat any of this shit. This is to keep you people off my back. Now let me tell you what I do eat. I eat what I want when I want. It's an amazing diet. It's called wrecking toilets and dying young. Yeah. And in Eugene, they're weird about the toilets too. Like you go to someone's house and you pee and they're like, no, don't do that. We're conserving water here. I'm like, we're surrounded by lakes. It rains like every fucking day. Why are we conserving water? And it's just, that's what they're into, to feel good about themselves. And they take it to a pretty severe extreme. It's like, if it's yellow, keep it mellow. Mm-hmm. If it's brown, take a picture of it and post a picture on Instagram, because it takes a lot of content if you want to be an influencer.
No.
Everybody in Eugene, though, has a friend named Steve who owns a Japanese truck, like an old 80s Japanese truck. And this is really important because you got to call up your friend Steve to help you move, or like, you know, get a load of bark when you're like doing stupid improvements on your apartment complex, you know. I just want it to look a little nicer. I don't care if I make my investment back. Yeah, fuck you and your wood chips. But the thing is, in Eugene, it's like, if you don't know somebody named Steve with a Japanese truck, you can join the Steve with a Japanese truck friend collective. You can like literally sign up and get you a friend named Steve with a Japanese truck. The problem is that if you sign up for the Steve with a Japanese truck service, what they don't tell you, except for in the fine print, is that there are actually a lot of Steves, but only one Japanese truck. So yeah, next time my neighbor wants to get a load of wood chips, it's gonna probably happen in March or something like that. So, you know, if he hung out at the bars more, organically made friends with a Steve, it wouldn't go down like that. But no, he took the lazy route and now he's paying for it. There's a place I go to buy clothing in Eugene. It's called Eugene Jeans, and they've got a lot of used stuff. But the lady that owns it is so flat effect. And I said, hey, what's your name? She's like, my name's Barbara. And I'm like, you know what, Barbara? You're really missing an opportunity here. Because if I was you, Barbara, I would name myself Gene. And then I would name this place Jeans Eugene Jeans. Mm-hmm. And then I would go out and find me a husband, also named Gene, get him in on the business, and rename it Gene and Jeans Eugene Jeans.
No.
Mm-hmm. And then I would hire, like at $18 an hour, some employees on the stipulation that their name tags say Gene. And then it would be, welcome to Gene and Jeans Eugene Jeans. My name is Gene. How may I help you? And occasionally they'd screw it up and say, how may I help Gene? Oh shit, how may I help you? You know? And what the beautiful thing about this all is it would become like a local neighborhood attraction. It would be such a glorious shit show that people would come just to see Gene and Jeans Eugene Jeans. Hey, this is Gene. Can I get some Gene? Hey, I like your jeans. Your blonde hair looks good. Wait a minute. That's not a good thing to say. I'm not trying to sound like a fascist.
But Eugene is already such a shit show. It's gorgeous already.
So what I got to say about that is they're really missing out on a great opportunity, because with a shit show like that, they could absolutely pitch themselves a limited run cable network reality series that they show on one of those high number cable stations that boomers watch in their sleep. There's like money to be made that they're leaving on the table. And let me tell you what, it's going to cost them in the long run, because they don't get a whole lot of business. Eventually, they're going to close down and be replaced by one of those stupid-ass, like, gentrifying cocktail bars with a dumb old name like Ampersand and Ampersand or something like that. Yeah, this guy's looking at me like, Ant? Now, let me tell you some of the insidious shit they have in Eugene, though. They literally have hippie protection rackets.
Yes, they do.
It's freaking nuts. Like, you watch cable there, you watch TV. I don't watch a ton of TV, but I watch enough. And they even advertise. The advertisement goes a little like this. Hey, Mom, this is Rainbow Dave for the Eugene Hippie Protection Rackets. And I just want to say that if you don't pay us every month, we will have not less than one and not more than 3 buskers that know 2 and only 2 Neil Young songs, and we will have them in front of your door in 15 minutes or less, give or take a dispensary stop. So pay up, brah. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm lower middle class. I don't believe any of this shit. Like, this is just a big old joke. And son of a bitch, like 2 weeks later, I pulled up in front of my apartment building and I got out of my car and a couple of hippies like, hey, that's them. And then they start singing, oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. And I'm like, oh my God, this is for real. This is real. I pulled $20 out of my pocket, paid each one of them off, and I've been paying them off ever since. And let me tell you what, if they expand to Bend, I advise that you pay them too. Like, it is a beautiful thing not to have that waiting for me when I come home from work. Totally worth it. So do y'all have Fred Meyer here?
Yes.
Fred Meyer is nuts. Like, I'm originally from California. We have like Target and Walmart, and like, yeah, who gives a shit, Target and Walmart. Fred Meyer is absolutely batshit nuts. Like, the first time I walked in there right at the top of the hour, and so I walk into this place, and then the speakers above me go, boop, Fred Meyer Associates, it's the top of the hour. Please take out your used chaw and replace it with a fresh dip. Boop. Okay. Boop. Fred Meyer Associates. It's the top of the hour. Please now do the hokey pokey. However, associates caught turning themselves around will be subject to disciplinary action. Boop. Hey, Fred Meyer Associates, it's the top of the hour. Associates locked in the freezer for disciplinary action will be given 1 foil survival blanket as per OSHA regulations. Boop. So I'm walking around like I'm trying to find something to eat, I'm trying to get some things done, and I just keep walking around the store and coming into like crazier and crazier aisles. Like I found the passive-aggressive greeting card aisle. That was entertaining. I found the macrame aisle. It was itchy. I found the discontinued retro products aisle, and I stocked up on Crystal Pepsi, as would any of you if you were there. And then I went down the tweaker supply aisle. I was really into their line of Loyal to the Foil activewear. It's nice and fuzzy, you know, it's good for non-tweakers too. And then I went around another corner and I walked through a door accidentally and it locked behind me and I couldn't get out. I was literally trapped in a storeroom at Fred Meyer for the better part of a week, and I would have died if there weren't expired granola bars there for me to feed myself and a corner for me to put some shit in. But you know, I made lemons into lemonade after they freed me. You know, a few days later, I went home and I wrote a screenplay about it. It's called 5 Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, hopefully they'll make that into a major motion picture and, you know, my ship will come in. That's my hope, seriously. And, you know, if it isn't Fred Meyer, it's Jerry's. I hope you don't have Jerry's here. Jerry's is like a home improvement store in Eugene and Springfield in the Willamette Valley that has the weirdest damn advertising ever. And they think they're quirky with this advertising. It's akin to, like, there's a picture of a guy on like, pushing a lawnmower through a big field and it says, need mo power, you know, like, hardy har, you know, dad jokes. But the beautiful thing about, like, the Jerry's billboards in Eugene is that, like, everybody gives me mushrooms all the time because it's fucking Eugene. And so once I take these mushrooms and start walking around, the billboards start saying completely different things. And it's cool shit, too. Like, is your dog spying on you and using Google Dog Translate to talk shit about you on Nextdoor? Better head for Jerry's. Meth-addled raccoons masturbating in your attic and melting your ceiling? Better head for Jerry's. At war with your neighbor and need to build a fun-sized catapult? Better head for Jerry's. All this better head for Jerry's, better head for Jerry's, better head for Jerry's. The problem with it is just about everybody in my life whom I've ever met named Jerry is a fucking brick. The last thing I want for them to be getting is better head. Shit, it was up to me, I'd put up billboards that say, like, mouthful of infectious sores, worse head for Jerry's. Tongue got the consistency of 40 grit sandpaper, worse head for Jerry's. Sharp teeth, worse head for Jerry's. See, that's what would turn me on, you know. But, you know, I can't get vengeance against all my enemies in this lifetime. I'll have to spread it among multiple reincarnations, as we do, and, you know, keeps it interesting that way. You don't just get it all over with at once. You know, you'd be a monster if you got it all over with at once. And, you know, speaking of monsters, I went down to my local Mexican food place named Nelson's. Nelson's a sweetheart, but he offers this thing called the Monster Burrito. And he doesn't tell you much about what's in it. And I'm like, hey, Nelson, what kind of monster meat is in the Monster Burrito? And he's like, oh, Temple, you're so funny. I'm like, no, seriously, what kind of fucking meat is in the Monster Burrito? Oh, Temple, no, listen, motherfucker. Like a period after mother and after fucker. Because I gotta tell you right the fuck here and right now, I cannot eat werewolf because it gives me the runs. And I'm not gonna eat Sasquatch. Like, I'll jack him off, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll get my love in him, but I'm not gonna eat Sasquatch. And as for centaur, I'm completely okay with eating the bottom half of a centaur if it's ethically sourced. But I'm not touching that top half. I'm not a fucking cannibal, Nelson. Like, so give me what I need to order the proper burrito. And he sighs and he's like, oh, you know what's in it, Temple. I'm like, yeah, it's chupacabra, isn't it? The cheap monster meat. I've worked in enough taquerias to know that the monster burrito meat, if it's cheap enough, if it's a price point under $10, it's chupacabra, so. But, you know, some monsters aren't for eating. Like, for example, I know Medusa personally. Like, she does hair in this small town called Cottage Grove and converts all the old closet, you know, she gets all the closet lesbians out of the closet, you know, she converts them from being little old Christian ladies into secret lesbians, and then they get a side shave and break up with their husband and buy an old Toyota because they can't afford a Subaru. That's how it goes. No, Medusa's my friend. I love her to death. I got a lot of friends in this world, though. Hell, I'll probably leave with some more friends tonight after this show, hopefully. Hopefully y'all don't hate me too much. And, I got a friend who came in, and he flew in from Belgium, and I came home the other night, and he was just, like, kicking it. He was on the couch. He just didn't seem like he was in a good mood. And I'm like, dude, what's got you down? He's like, I've got garlic breath from American pussy. I'm like, oh, Jesus, man. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, And it's like, is it different than Belgian pussy? And he's like, no, Temple, let me tell you about Belgian pussy. Belgium is a divided country. There's 2 types of pussy. There's Flemish pussy and Wallonian pussy. But anyway, I wouldn't know because I mostly blow Turkish truckers. I mean, how the hell do you think I'd make the money to afford coming to visit you in America twice a year anyway? Like, good point. Good point. Yeah, flying is such a shit show these days. Have any of you flown lately? Oh my God, it's terrible. Like, they're short of pilots, they're canceling flights, they're short of stewardesses. It's just really nasty. So let me give you a piece of advice. When you go to the airport, like, don't wear like your geeky flying game t-shirt, because seriously, if they see that you played like Skyfox on N64 when you were a kid or something, they're gonna put you in that cockpit and make you fly the plane. The unions have fallen apart, and capitalism is a hideous bitch goddess, so be really careful. Also, femmes, ladies, don't wear your high heels to the airport, because they're gonna probably try to have you pass out peanuts and tell people to put their trays in the upright lock position. Security's gone to shit on the airlines too. Delta changed their slogan recently from flying the friendly skies to what makes you think we won't cut you. So be real careful out there when you're flying, I don't fly, I just drive, and when I drive, I listen to the radio, and I'm really excited. I have a history of being in bands. I have a history as a musician, and I've got a new band right now. It's really cool. We've got 45 minutes worth of material. However, that 45 minutes worth of material is a very long version of the 1877 Cars for Kids song. So the dilemma we're dealing with is we don't know if we want to be a 1877 Cars for Kids cover band or a 1877 Cars for Kids tribute band. And basically the difference is like, do we wear the outfits that they wear in the TV commercial or not? And, this is a big decision for us. Like, those outfits will cost us a pretty penny. We've got to recoup, you know what I mean? So capitalism may yet tear this promising band apart. So wish me luck when I go home. I really hope that this works out. Oh my God. Yeah, I got this neighbor who pissed me off. I guess we were practicing a little bit too loud, and he said, fuck you, I'm gonna fuck your shit up. I'm like, fuck you, I'm gonna curse you. So I went and got my copy of the Necronomicon, and I was looking to turn it towards the back where all the really good violent spells are, and I just kept turning and turning and turning and turning and turning and turning, and I just couldn't get to the back of it no matter how hard I turned the pages. There's just more pages. And then I closed it and I looked at it, I was like, oh, I see what's wrong here. This is actually the Necronomicon. It doesn't have an end. It's the Kirkland version. I got it at Costco. Go figure. It doesn't have the same spells. So, yeah, anyway, so that's why I just went at my neighbor's car with a claw hammer instead. Took care of business. He got the message, and now we can practice as loud as we want. Oh, God. You guys watch some TV. I was watching TV. I know we saw the hippie protection racket commercials, but TV commercials are just like so fucked up these days. Like, I was watching one, and it was like basically a mom and her baby, and it's like, make sure your toddler poops on your time, not theirs, with new toddler BM. Like, oh God, that's terrible. And if your toddler doesn't go to sleep on time, give them toddler PM. Like, what? You guys are giving sleeping meds to children? This is terrible. And then there was an ad for a local foster care placement agency bragging about their easy return policy. Like, what kind of shit is this? And then there was an ad for heartworm medicine for dogs. I'm like, finally, this is wholesome, this is reasonable, this isn't so bad. And at the end, the voiceover is like, remember that veterinary medicine is just as potent on humans as human medicine is. And for non-Canadians, a hell of a lot cheaper too. Ask your veterinarian to be your doctor today. Shit's so fucked up. And then after that, there was a commercial with Henry Winkler selling cryptocurrency. Fuck that, I'm not gonna fall for no Fonzie scheme. Hell no. Oh God. Yeah, shit's fucked up these days. All right, so it's time to do the crowd work. I'm not a big fan of crowd work. I'm pretty reluctant about it. It's not my jam. Usually when a comic like me, it's time to do crowd work, I find some random couple in the audience and try to convince them to have a three-way. That's how my mentors taught me. I mean, and you know, those of you who go to comedy shows on the regs know that being propositioned for a three-way is just part of going to a mainstream comedy show these days. I know some of you don't like it, and if you don't, feel free to leave a bad Yelp review. As for me, though, three-ways are kind of boring. I really need at least like 7 for it to be worth my time. So I'm gonna have to leave you out, but those 6 back there, can we all maybe get together for a 7-way? All right, I like this. See, we've got a plan. There's ample room in the green room. You know, we can throw some blankets down, you know, it's great. What we first have to figure out, though, is who's a top, who's a bottom, and who's a switch. And out of this group of 7, I'm sure we're gonna have probably 2 tops, 2 bottoms, and 3 switches. And you think that works perfectly. You plug all the switches in the middle and you have some sort of like human sex centipede going on. But that's not really how it works. You know, too many switches spoil the broth, you know? So any more than 2 switches, any extra switches, I'm gonna have them get on my Nintendo Switch and beat that one bad guy in Breath of the Wild that I haven't been able to beat. And don't you eat my fucking roasted apples in the process either. I need those so I can get to the next level. You need to do it without health boosts. If not, your ass is getting beat. All right. Also, if we do have a 7-way, I'm gonna make some homemade lube for us. This is really important. How many of you all like actually just use store-bought lube when you go have sex? You just go to the adult shop and buy a little thing of lube. Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of you do. It's reasonable, and you know, some people self-lubricate, and I get it. But like, I was raised like by some hardcore gay guys. Like, not raised, but like I came into community, like, you know, some hardcore gay guys initiated me, and they basically told me all about homemade lubricant. Like, one of the main things that gets in the way of serious, decent gay sex is lube affordability, and you can completely like negate that problem if you make it yourself. So you go to the Granger catalog or your local veterinary supply store, and you get this stuff called J-Lube. It's powdered. And then you get a 5-gallon bucket and you pour the powder in the bucket. You get your drill out and hopefully the battery's charged. If not, you might have to plug it in. And put the grout attachment on the end of your drill and then put it in there, add some water from the hose, and it just goes. The thing is, that's the noise the drill makes. But if you want it to mix properly with the right amount of bubbles, you need to make another noise on top of it. And so you mix it right up, and then you got a 5-gallon bucket of homemade lube. And the beautiful thing about it is it's shelf stable for 6 months. You can put your favorite essential oils in it, like if you like a little lemon, or you like a little like something sweet and sugary, like, you know, whatever your taste buds like, you just add it to the homemade lube. The guys that train me, they're really into garage sex, so they put a little motor oil in it. That was their jam. Yeah, and then you bottle it up and it lasts a long time. And you know, you might be asking, what might anybody do that needs these industrial qualities of lube? Well, I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I'm not trying to like gross everybody out. But if you ever go to, you know, like Fred Meyer, for example, and you see like some guy with a shaved head and a Fu Manchu buying like 15 pool noodles first thing in March once they hit the floor, I'm telling you what he's gonna do with them. Those are his stretching toys. You're gonna find them in his shower with the tips shaved off of them. Yeah, because, you know, if you want your lover to make a fudge puppet out of you, you've got to stay really nice and loose back there. Like, you know, you can't just be going at this casually. You have to practice like an Olympic athlete. And pool noodles are the way to go because, like, you know, you can scrunch them up and they go in and then they don't damage you much on the way out. It's really safe, you know. It's a harm reduction based way to make yourself a power bottom. So I know some of you straights out there are like, what did I just hear? I did not know this existed in the world. I will not see the world the same way after this, and that's good, you know, it's a diverse place. We all want to see the world in different ways, you know. Like, I mean, I got exposed to that in the straight world. Like, I met a guy that, like, got divorced, like, 8 or 9 times one time, and that just blew me away just as much as you all hearing about butt stuff might have blown you away there. So, heteronormativity kind of gets me a little bit. I don't quite understand some of the things that you all take for granted, but, you know, that's what happens when you live in a subculture. You live in your own community. You know, shit goes a little sideways sometimes, and, you know, that's fine. One of the things that I've found is like a lot of the comedians that you know, like presented as straight in Eugene are now coming out as bisexual. Like all these cisgender like white dudes are coming out as bi. They're like, hey, yeah, actually, you know what? I like dick a little bit, and I'm not afraid to admit it. it's about time, and realistically, since Temple is one of the better bookers in Eugene and mostly books queer artists, I need it for my comedy career. I gotta get on these Temple shows. I just say I suck dick. No, it's not quite like that. But no, they have a lot of courage, and one of the things that I'm really interested in is monitoring the drug taking habits of all these newly out bisexuals. It's if they're really into it, they may have a glass of wine first, yeah, I'm gonna go off with him, that's really great. But then if they're just if they're pounding 2 vapes and a dab, microdosing, pounding beers, it's hey, maybe you need to dial back on your comedy career right now. Maybe just stick to the hetero thing and the mics for a while. You're not ready for this level of bisexuality. No. So one of the things I got to say about the past is we keep thinking the past is this big monotonous bunch of straightness. Oh, the past was straight and queerness only came out in the 70s, Divine was the first queer person or something like that. People get these weird ideas in their head. Let me tell you, queerness goes deep back into history. I already told you about Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, but I'm going to tell you the whole Revolutionary War was gay. The whole damn thing. And I know how it got that way. Because these modern wars these days, they put you in really scratchy fabrics, they give you wool blankets, and they give you these big guns, and we have tanks, and we have bombs, and we have manly clothes that are scratchy, and you better change your shoes, you're gonna get jungle rot. But the Revolutionary War back in the day was a completely different animal. They wore frilly silks and wigs and powdered makeup and pointy boots with really cute little brass buttons. It was the whole fucking thing was designed by Billy Porter or something.
They did.
That's a war. I don't care about all this modern warfare. I want to see sparkling outfits. I want to see your ballroom skills. I want to see you twerk, bitch. God damn, Britney Spears is my 5-star general. Conservatorship or not, we're used to having crazy generals. This is the United States of America, for fuck's sake. Oh, God. But people have these interesting ideas. The Revolutionary War was gay. You know how they talk about the Nazi book burning? Oh yeah, the Nazis burned all these books. And if you don't know any better, they must have been burning history books. They must have been burning things that were politically against what they're doing. No, you know what that big Nazi book burning was? It was burning of a human sexuality library with basically 75 years worth of meticulous research about queers and trans people. And they wanted to erase us, that's what they burned. And the people who reported on this are well, we could report this, but we kind of want to erase them too, so we're just not going to say anything, but hey, look, they're burning books, And so, only now, recently, is it coming out that, that big Nazi book burning that you've seen pictures of in all of your history books was an absolute attack on 75 years worth of the queer community's knowledge. 75 years worth of our existence, 75 years worth of us figuring ourselves out. And, so there's all these things we learn in life, for example, I just learned the other day that the 3rd most popular Pornhub search in the state of North Carolina is Guy Fieri. They're really into Flavor Town there. And would you believe that 95-year-old Henry Kissinger just got his 300,000th OnlyFans subscriber? People are into that old man stuff, I guess. He's not even a silver daddy. He's just a baby murdering neoliberal international guy, No, but that's what people do, People are into dark things, and I'm not into dark things. I like happy things. And one of the things that I find is not happy as a trans person is gender reveal parties. I really dislike gender reveal parties because as a trans community member who has worked in mental health, who has worked helping hundreds of community members come out, help them find their peace in life, I really hate the idea that these parents are going, oh yeah, pink if the kid has an innie and blue if they have an outie, and that's their whole life and everything, and maybe we need to blow up a quarter stick of dynamite in the process just to show how manly we are in doing this. People do the insane shit when they're having gender reveal parties. And so rather than try to stop them and educate all these people, I want to give you, and you can pass this on to your foolish friends, the best idea for the best gender reveal party. And it goes a little something like this. You invite all your friends to the gender reveal party, and you rent a really cool little property, like somewhere rural or somewhere where you can have like a garden party and just have them outside. And then you hire an out-of-work crop duster pilot. And you give that out-of-work crop duster pilot a whole load of rattlesnakes. All of them have been defanged though, except for one. And then you have the crop duster pilot fly over your gender reveal party and dump the snakes, and you're like, hey, it's a gender reveal, and everybody's, what, where? Ah, it's snakes! Oh my fucking God, it's fucking snakes! They're coming after me! Oh my God! And everybody's freaking out, and my skirt falls off because I have no butt. I literally have no butt. So everybody's freaking out about these rattlesnakes, and you're just watching the fur fly, and finally at the end somebody's like, ow, I've been bit! And anyway, sure as shooting, the gender of the person who got bit is the gender your baby's gonna be. I don't know how it works out with such accuracy. It's highly more accuracy than like doctors sexing people at birth, you know. God, some of these schools with like 20-30% of the kids being non-binary or trans, I think my method is gonna work better in the long run. But there is a really major pitfall that can come about, and the key is, if your out-of-work crop duster pilot doesn't like snakes, you've got a problem. You've got a big problem at that point. God, like one time, somebody got back to me after that, and they're like, hey man, like, we tried to do your thing. We tried to do your gender reveal party, and let me tell you what happened. The pilot absolutely freaked out and started screaming, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane! And ditched the whole load of snakes over a Costco parking lot. And so these ladies are looking up at the sky going, I just came here for a rotisserie chicken, and now the apocalypse my Sunday school teacher told me about is happening. But I forgot how to pray. So anyway, that's the type of gender reveal party that is really gonna like get you some Instagram followers. So take my advice, just make sure that your pilot isn't skittish about the snakes. That's really important. You know, or maybe just find somebody at the flea market to fly the plane for you. I mean, seriously, flea markets aren't just for blind dates anymore. You all know that. So, as a trans person, it is absolutely required for me to talk a little bit about Dave Chappelle. A little bit about Dave Chappelle. And I used to really love the Chappelle Show. Chappelle used to be one of my favorite comics in the world, but as he's grown older, he's grown a little bit more rigid, and I kind of feel for the guy a little bit, because the comedy dream of the 90s after the fall of the Soviet Union, bless you, was that basically you could say whatever you want. Hey, racism is over, sexism is over, the Soviet Union is over, homophobia is over, good taste is over. We can say anything we want to anybody we want. It's the 90s. But yet, after 9/11 and after seeing what colonialism is and seeing the dream of the 90s dashed on the rocks in front of us and realizing it was a lie the whole time, Chappelle got bitter and stayed in that space and just started saying transphobic, horrible, sexist stuff. And it really makes me sad, you know, because I can't watch him with glee anymore, knowing that, like, he probably hates me as a person, you know, if he met me, and you know, like, if he met a member of my community or met me, he would just want to tokenize me like he did Daphne Dorman, you know, oh, hey, she was my friend, while he fucking assaults her in one of his specials. But anyway, I don't care about that. You don't need to hear me ranting. What you do need to hear is me giving solutions to the problem. And I have a really good solution to this problem. If Dave Chappelle wants to turn that career around, get those younger fans back, and have a secondary renaissance, the only thing Chappelle could do at this particular point would be for themselves to transition. I would seriously watch Danielle Chappelle's Check Out My Badge special. I'm into that. Like, that would be the best 60 minutes of comedy I've seen since Maria Bamford had a nervous breakdown in Portland. But, you know, even if he did that, he'd have to go a little bit further. And since the whole wrestling world is up in arms at this moment, like, if I was Danielle Chappelle, I would reach out to World Wrestling Entertainment and see if I could get me a steel cage death match with J.K. Rowling, the world's like most famous transphobic person. And I could just hear the announcer right now. As God is my witness, J.K. Rowling has been broken in half. Danielle Chappelle is a wrestling powerhouse. But you know, if Danielle did go that route, and transitioned and saw how the other half lived, at that point, she would be a black trans woman. And being a black trans woman is the most marginalized identity in all of America, with the most oppression in all of America. And the beautiful thing about this for Chappelle is if they actually were a black trans woman, they could say anything they want about anybody comedy-wise, and they would be punching up. Problem solved, right? Mm-hmm. So check out that Danielle Chappelle special coming to Netflix if she knows what's good for her. I've been Temple the Bard. Thank you all for your time and your energy. Let's please give it up for your fabulous host, your other comics. This has been a great night. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.